Hello everyone, my name is Temperley, Iain Temperley, and welcome to the Body Count, where we calculate the deaths, demises and kills of various action and thriller films. And for today's episode we are looking at Thunderball. Before we get started though, I need to explain a bit of history regarding the making of this film.
Long before 007 first graced the silver screen, Ian Fleming alongside Kevin McClory and Jack Whittingham tried to create a screenplay for a Bond movie, only it didn't pan out, with Fleming instead turning their ideas, including Spectre,
Special Executive for Counterintelligence, Terrorism, Revenge, Extortion,
into the novel Thunderball. This, however, led to a lawsuit that resulted in McClory retaining certain screen rights to elements of the book. Therefore, Broccoli and Saltzman, to prevent more legal trouble, gave Kevin a producer credit, though that wouldn't be the end of the story. The film itself, with returning director Terence Young, continues the evolution and success of the series. Adjusted for inflation, it is the highest grossing film of the franchise. However, it was also the first to show a decrease in quality due to the pace-dragging underwater scenes, lack of depth in its side characters, and a slight over-reliance on gadgetry. That being said, those underwater sequences are well executed, Connery still killing it as Bond, and the film possesses one of the best musical scores in the series.
Anyway, let's count some bodies.
The film opens with a different gun barrel sequence.
Thunderball was shot in Panavision, hence the new aspect ratio, so they couldn't just reuse the old footage of Bob Simmons like they did in the previous two films, and so shot a new opening, this time with Sean Connery.
The film proper begins with a funeral for JB, not James Bond but Spectre agent Jack Bouvard. However, RJB is not so convinced of his demise and decides to pay the widow a visit. Jackie boy's still alive, well, until 007 chokes him out with a poker. Bond jetpacks away before his escape car sprays out the opening titles. After Tom Jones faints while hitting that last note, we head to Paris where we're introduced to Spectre number 2, Emilio Largo.
Largo is a striking performance by Italian actor Adolfo Celi, though due to his heavy accent he was dubbed by Robert Rietti.
He's here to attend a meeting where agents brief number 1 on their ongoing criminal activities.
Once again, Ernest Stavro Blofeld is played by Anthony Dawson, though I did neglect to mention in my From Russia of Love video is that he's dubbed by another actor, Eric Pullman, same as he is here. I've also neglected to mention the many other different characters and actors that have been dubbed in this series so far.
But the numbers don't add up and Blofeld knows who the guilty embezzler is. Number 2 begins to relay the next master plan involving their agent Count Lippe, who's staying at a health farm with Bond. A tattoo raises Jimmy's suspicion, so he investigates further, finding a bandaged fellow who's got his eye on him. We later learn from a physiotherapist that his name is Angelo Palazzi. Meanwhile, in a nearby inn, we are introduced to Fiona Volpe and Major Francois Duval, with the former being played by the not dubbed Luciana Pelusi. Oh, someone's left a mirror in the hallway. No, wait, it's an unmasked Angelo here to kill the poor pilot. Palazzi's not happy with his payment though, demanding more or else, so Fiona capitulates, before he boards a plane with a couple of atomic weapons. Elsewhere, a late-night ambulance gets Bond's curiosity, so he goes to probe into the matter. He begins to unwrap this mystery before preventing himself being silenced.
Yeah, that doesn't look fatal, so I'm not going to be putting him on the count. If it was, that's a very phoned-in kill.
Elsewhere, Angie introduces the gas used earlier to the oxygen supply, thus exterminating the rest of the crew and taking control of the plane. He then descends to a height that can't be tracked by radar, before eventually landing at the bottom of the sea. He pops the cockpit open, but the buckle on his harness malfunctions, allowing the chance for Largo to cut his oxygen supply and drown him.
Say what you will of this criminal organisation, but they do not tolerate greedy people.
The weapons are successfully retrieved and the plane is disguised. Elsewhere, Bond leaves the health farm with Lippy in pursuit. He tries to shoot James, but Volpe arrives to fire a rocket-powered grenade and put him out for the count.
Although he was killed on Blofeld's orders for his poor judgment in choosing Palazzi, just casually shooting at Bond isn't exactly the creative work on an organisation that prides itself on having the greatest criminal masterminds. It's surprising he wasn't fired sooner.
Bond attends a meeting of his fellow 00s, where the Foreign Secretary presents a tape from Spectre, demanding £100 million in 7 days, or else the atomic weapons will be used to attack a major American or British city. The agents are then given their briefing for Operation Thunderball.
The word Thunderball is a US military term to describe the mushroom clouds created by atomic explosions.
James recognises a familiar corpse who has a sister named Dominique Derval, aka Domino, who is currently residing in Nassau. He brings this to the attention of M, who sends him to the Bahamas to investigate this lead. There he meets and even rescues the young lady.
Domino was played by French actress and former Miss World runner-up Claudine Auger, who passed away last December. Though, like Silly, her accent was deemed too thick and so was dubbed by Nicky Van de Zyl. A lot of dubbing went on in those early days.
We are also introduced to Bahamian agent Paula Kaplan, played by Martine Beswick, who had previously appeared in From Russia with Love as one of the gypsy fighting girls, Zora. James fakes engine trouble so as to get a ride back with Domino. Over lunch, Dominique reveals that she lives with a guardian by the name of Emilio Largo, who has a hydrofoil motor yacht named the Disco Volante. That night at a casino, Bond first meets his new foe, where they exchange thinly veiled bluffs.
The spectre of defeat. That your luck was due to change.
We learn that Mr. Val is actually Largo's mistress, a role she has resigned herself to. Also, Emilio invites James to lunch at his home, Palmyra. The following day, Bond uses a special audiobook to track a naughty intruder in his hotel room. He greets his old friend Felix before flashing out this rude little interloper.
Felix Leiter this time is played by Rick Van Nutter, whose charming performance might be my favourite portrayal of the character. It's a shame he never got to reprise the role. He did sign a multi-film contract only for the character to not appear in the next 2 entries in the franchise.
The pest named Quist is sent back to his boss, who's not happy, and so has him fed to his pet sharks.
Got to give props to stuntman Bill Cummings, who was given an additional £250 bonus for being thrown into a pool of real-life sharks, which fortunately he only had to do 1 take of.
Oh no.
007.
It's gadget time.
We have a Geiger counter watch, infrared camera, 4 minutes rebreather.
Interestingly, the military were working on a similar sort of breather and actually approached the filmmakers to inquire how they did it, only to learn that it was really just a prop that worked as long as someone could hold their breath for.
And a homing pill.
What am I supposed to do with this?
Well, obviously, you swallow it.
Now?
Bond goes to take photos of the underside of the Disco Volante when he's rudely interrupted. They struggle for a bit before James cuts his oxygen supply, but doesn't kill him. Jimmy evades his pursuers before being picked up by Miss Volpe. She and her signet ring thus return him to his hotel. Later, James arrives at Palmyra, where we're introduced to Gianni and Vargas.
Of course, Vargas does not drink, does not smoke, does not make love. What do you do, Vargas?
Later, the duo kidnap Miss Kaplan. A scheduled blackout gives 007 the chance to sneak into Palmyra. Sadly, he's too late to save Paula, who took her own life rather than be tortured and give up information.
As stated in my previous video, the franchise has started its formula of expendable Bond girls, and this is a prime example of that. However, unlike our Golden Girl trendsetter or many other future examples, or even previous ill-fated allies like Quarrel or Karen Bay, I feel her death doesn't really have any emotional impact or weight to it. Don't get me wrong, it's a brave decision by the character, but her appearance in this film is really not much more than is highlighted in this video. As such, she isn't allowed to build any real presence or connection with the audience. Therefore her sacrifice and death is pretty meaningless to the narrative. She's barely even mentioned after this.
On his way out, Bond kills 2 guards before clumsily dropping his gun. Unarmed, he's tackled into a pool, wherein he's promptly trapped. Fortunately, James is able to take his opponent's knife and stab him in the stomach. The sharks are released, but our boy is able to make a narrow escape. He returns to his hotel room, where he discovers an unexpected guest.
Hello.
He gives her the business before she gets down to the business.
James Bond, who only has to make love to a woman and she starts to hear heavenly choir singing. She repents and immediately returns to the side of right and virtue. But not this one.
And yes, that was indeed made in response to Bond turning a lesbian in the last film.
Well, you can't win them all.
Fortunately, Bond is able to cause a distraction and escape, eventually making his way to the Kiss Kiss Club. That doesn't stop Fiona and the gang from catching up with him though. We then get a brilliantly tense scene thanks to the increasingly fast cuts and drum beat, which ends with the villainess being spun into a bullet.
Do you mind if my friend sits this one out? She's just dead.
With about 14 hours to go until the deadline, Bond and Leiter resume their search. Finally, they discover the plane, so Felix shoots a shark to distract the others and allow James to take a closer look.
I only count human kills on this show though. Sorry.
He removes some of Francois's belongings before taking his relationship with Mr. Val to new depths.
Like the song says, it's better down where it's wetter.
He presents the belongings as Domino connects the dots together before agreeing to help find the weapons. Vargas tries to sneak up behind them, but 007 has him scouted.
I think you got the point.
Thanks to a tip from Domino, James finds a hidden harbour where he pops in the pill and later that night infiltrates Largo's men. They head to a secret underwater cave to retrieve the hidden warheads. Our boy is uncovered though as Largo orders one of his men to take care of him. Bond jabs a flare into the guy's face only to get trapped inside the cave. Largo discovers his mistress's betrayal and gets down to a bit of ice torture. Thanks to the pill, Leiter is able to track down and rescue Bond, who informs him that Spectre planned to attack Miami. Thus the US Navy are dispatched to deal with the impending threat.
Now this is a tricky scene to figure out, especially because of the water and the costumes making it difficult to figure out who was who, not to mention the odd continuity error. I've also seen some high numbers as a result of this scene in other body or kill count videos. Therefore, to be fair, I'm going to be including anyone I see definitively getting killed, but not every body I see, because I feel like I'd just be double counting people who have already died. Overall, given the size of both armies, I think I came up with a pretty reasonable tally. Let's get to the battle then. Hello boys, girls and those of unspecified gender. Welcome to the climatic showdown of Thunderball between the mighty United States Navy and the #1 criminal organisation in the world, Spectre. The US Navy are in orange with white tanks and the Spectre boys are all black. Just to remind everyone what's at stake today, those Spectre masters are armed with two atomic weapons, and they plan to detonate one of them in Miami. Therefore those Yanks better bring their A-game, otherwise it's going to be a real scorcher in Florida tonight. It looks like both sides are ready, so let's get the graphic up on the screen and let combat engage. And it's Spectre that open up the scoring with a double, but the US reply with a couple of their own. Wait, looks like Spectre just responded with a 1, 2, 3, 4, a quadruple. One in the chest from the Navy, and I think I can spot a couple of Spectre bodies in the background. All the boys in black pull one ahead, just as the Americans looked like they were going to even the score. Spectre's just extended the lead by 3. It's not looking good for the Americans at this juncture. They must be really kicking themselves. I mean, they had the advantage of a surprise attack, but those Finnish elite have just really stood strong and have taken this match by the scruff of the neck. Oh, wait, I've just received word. Yeah, the US Navy are bringing on a sub. It's their star player on loan from the good old United Kingdom, number 007, James Bond. It looks like the US have pulled one back, but Spectre had 3 more orange bodies to the count. One apiece for each side just as the Yank approaches the bad guy's sub. Oh, risky going in at a 2-1 disadvantage, but his body cuts a guy's throat as the US suddenly cut their enemy's lead by half. Both sides continue to struggle for power, but Bond has finally made his entrance, cutting a couple of oxygen tanks. Oh, but sadly, it's too late to save his teammate. He does kill one baddie though and traps a couple of others. Not sure that's enough to kill them though, so they ain't going to be going on the count. We've got to give a hand to those boys at Q Branch though. They make such wonderful toys. Bond's leading 3 black-suited bad men into a ship. He drops a canister and boom! And that's a triple winner, which means we are all square. I did not like the sound of that one, but it does mean that the US Navy finally take the lead in this match. Oh, that sounded even worse. Oh, right in the eye. Can we get that in an instant replay? Boy, that Yank's really stabbing the hell out of that guy, but Spectre still have some life left in them. And the US Navy make it 20. Sorry, 21. And the bad guys pull one back. Only for the US to reply with a spear to the tank. Though it looks like that guy's still alive. A little hard to see, but we can just make out a black tank, which means it's another one to add to the count for the good old USA. Oh, spear to the arm, that's gotta hurt. Not to mention an end to a promising henchman career. And 007 is on a roll, taking masks and stabbing bad guys. It's really starting to get bloody now, as I can make out one more body apiece. And Largo continues to muddy the waters as we can finally make someone out that's not Bond. Though, let's face it, unless you're a main character, no one gives a damn. And the Crimson Waters attracted the local underwater predators. And may I remind you, those aren't some animatronics or CGI. Those are real mother flippin' sharks. And it looks like we've got another black suited body for the count. And for those who say it's probably the same one we saw earlier, that is a different coral formation. So therefore it's a new body. I don't think anyone wants to end up as fish food, so I think this match is going to come to a close very soon. In fact, Spectre have surrendered. Which means that the United States Navy win with a score of 26-19. USA! 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 Now let's see how the rest of the film turns out.
Number 2 is angry he lived up to his title as Bond harpoons another goon. This guy's looking pretty still, by the way. However, Emilio makes it back to the Disco Volante. With the Navy closing in, Largo jettisons the cocoon off the yacht. Some Spectre crew are left behind to fend off the Yanks, in which one guy is killed before the hydrofoil's blown up, with another failing to jump ship.
John Steers, who won a visual effects Oscar for his work on this feature, said that the explosion, which was created using some experimental rocket fuel, was so powerful it blew out windows 20 to 30 miles away in Nassau.
Meanwhile, Domino is rescued by Ladislav Kutz.
Who, you may be asking? Well, he's a nuclear physicist that works for Largo, who's cropped up a few times in this film. I just haven't had the reason to mention him before.
Jimmy is able to get aboard and fights with the remaining crew members. It looks like the end for James Bond, but Largo gets it in the back of a harpoon, courtesy of his former mistress. But his body gets stuck in the steering wheel, so they have to jump ship before the yacht crashes, killing 2 more goons.
Now, if you notice, Bond actually fought 3 henchmen, but as you can see here, he actually threw the other guy out long before the crash, and so he's not going on the count.
Kurtz probably survived as well. Meanwhile, Bond and Domino are rescued using the Photon system. And that's where the film ends.
So in between all this water, harpoons and sharks, how many bodies did Thunderball claim? Let's head over to the breakdown. In total, I think about 70 people died in Thunderball, and with a runtime of 125 minutes, the longest film in the franchise so far, that meant that there was a death on average about every 1.79 minutes.
The Magnum bullets will go to the uniquely shocking demise of number 9. Damp Squib has to go to Paula, who was just there to die and nothing more.
Well, that does it for another episode of The Body Count. I hope you enjoyed it, and if you did, please like and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Take care.